and I am showing this video today under the fair use provisions of the Section 117 of the U.S. Copyright Act. That's just a disclaimer so I don't get in trouble, because I'm going to educate you today, hopefully. I don't know all of you or what you know, what you think you might know, or what you're curious about. How many of you, for example, know about the secret space programs that have been going on for the last 70 years?
Yeah, we've heard a lot about it.
Okay. No? Okay. Well, this is great. And I'm just going to say, I hope you're ready for the information, because it's real, and our tax money is being spent in ways that you have no idea about, and it's being funneled to pay for these programs through black ops and the drug and the heroin and cocaine trade, and money laundering through banks like the HSBC has been going on for years. And this is how these programs are funded. It's horrible. You know, I was so shocked when I read about it, but how else are you going to pay for a program you don't want the public to know about? And money is also paid for these programs through alphabet agencies like the Department of Housing and Urban Development. If you want to know more about that, look up Catherine Austin Fitz, and she'll tell you all about that. And that's how these space programs are paid for. So what I'm getting at with that is that there's a lot of stuff going on the moon. There are many high military professionals and people high up in national security state that know what's going on, haven't been able to talk about it on pain of death. But now the cat's out of the bag. Pandora's box has been opened, and the S is hitting the fan, because this information is coming out all over the place. And it's like a dam with a hole in it that the secret space program has tried to put their finger in. Can you pass this back, please? Here. And I'll tell you one thing, everybody's going to get wet who tries to put their finger in this dam. You need one of those. These are links that I'm providing to you so you get to know where I have been to get this information. And there is a lot of disinformation, misinformation out there. Use your own higher sense of truth to gauge the veracity of everything you read on the internet. But I like pictures and video because they don't ever lie unless they've been photoshopped. Now, Jose Esconilla, the filmmaker of Moon Rising, which I'm going to show you segments of, which is going to blow your mind. He has taken a lot of the photographs from the Clementine mission, which are not on NASA's website, they're on the USGS website, United States Geological Survey's website. And so these photographs, a lot of them were in black and white that NASA fudged and smeared, and they're not going to give you any color photographs. Well, Jose Esconilla has taken just a few hundred of the 1.8 million photographs that were taken by the Clementine mission in 1994, and he has colorized them using a palette very similar to what Earth would be from the same distance from space. So he's kind of approached the colorization of these photographs that were given to us by NASA, which are in black and white, to colorize them. And what happened was the most curious and wonderful thing. When you take a black and white palette, which has only two color values, black and white, you don't get that much definition from the image. But when you take a color photograph, because there's four colors, there's a color scale that is much broader, and you get the finer resolution with the color included. So what comes out, what pops out of these photographs is remarkable. And there is some stuff there up on the moon that just ain't supposed to be there. Jose Esconilla has done some remarkable research, and as are many other researchers, homegrown astronomers who maybe bought a nice telescope out. They have it out.
It would be impossible to get accurate photography of the moon.
There we go.
The first photo was released from the Hubble Space Telescope in 1999.
Yes.
Needless to say, the scientists and astronomers were not too pleased at how NASA had deliberately lied to them. When I heard about this photo
radio program with Art Bell, and he was talking about this
depth perception as never before.
What the heck is that?
By painting the moon with earth colors and tones, we can now see what has been there all along for us to view.
So he created a color palette. So what the heck is that, huh?
I got started in this probably in the mid-1990s, listening to
This is Mike Barra,
Coast to Coast AM,
another researcher.
radio program with Art Bell, and he was talking about the stuff that he'd found on the moon.
He's done a lot of work with NASA. Come on in.
It clearly appeared to be structures. They were very anomalous. And he was noting that there were thousands upon thousands of photographs that were taken of the moon by the various unmanned probes and the astronauts that had orbited the moon. And he said, you know, Art, anybody can do this. And what I realized is, A, I'm anybody. B, I think I understand the arguments.
So, what is that?
I'm an engineer by trade, so aerospace engineer, so I may not be an architect.
There's a lot of people who claim that the moon landing that we got to see on television back in the 60s was totally staged
Anomalies homepage
in a studio.
Still exists, and it was all dedicated to stuff on the moon.
The Hubble telescope has taken the most incredible photography of deep space and far off in the vast universe. When you see these spectacular scenes, you can't help but wonder how many others live out there. So when NASA was asked by scientists and astronomers when the Hubble telescope would be used in photographing the moon, NASA's reply was that because the moon was too bright, it would be impossible to get accurate photography of the moon. The first photo was released from the Hubble Space Telescope.
That's rich.
In 1999. Needless to say, the scientists and astronomers were not too pleased at how NASA had deliberately lied to them. When I heard about this photograph, I thought for sure we would see the moon in full color. But of all the photos taken by the Hubble telescope of the moon, they are in black and white.
And that is by design, not by accident.
After colorizing all these photos, you can't help but learn the moon's layout. After all, it is a small planet compared to Earth.
He's just pointing out the places that are very strange.
As we now take you back to the moon,
if you zoom in on it.
A voyage filled with mystery and secrecy.
A lot of secrecy.
I'm not sure why NASA has not told us what's on the moon. In a way they have told us because the pictures are there and there's hundreds of them. So anybody can do what I did and go and look at the pictures and enlarge them and see what there is.
NASA has been there, but we haven't been back since 1972. And you kind of sit there and wonder why that is. It's our closest celestial neighbor in the heavens. You can see it every night when you walk outside, and really there's so much mystery about it, still to this day. Many people seem to think that the Apollo program answered a lot of these questions, and in many ways it did, but we, the general public, have never been privy to any of those answers.
So what the heck are those, huh? gets the feeling that you don't know
Is there
on
already
purpose.
somebody there? And is there even a secret space program that we don't know about? That maybe even NASA
And the answer to that is absolutely yes.
using very advanced
And many countries have their own secret space program. The United States has two, allegedly.
And that there's no life to be found, past, present, at all. That's simply not the case.
So I certainly believe that some of the stuff that we're finding on the moon may be alien, extraterrestrial in origin. It may be ruined, ancient, abandoned extraterrestrial ruins. Some of it may be active, and some of it, in fact, may be our own stuff.
Our own
I don't
stuff.
think there's any possibility that NASA is not aware of the civilizations on the moon and the structures. They're very obvious, easy to see.
They are in contact with some of these extraterrestrial life forms, and they don't want you to know about it.
There was the guy that hacked
There was,
into the
yeah,
NASA
his
database,
name is Gary McKinnon.
non-terrestrial.
You can find him on YouTube.
NASA may
Gary
have
McKinnon.
beings up there.
He found non-terrestrial officers in a memo when he hacked into NASA's computers.
Pictures have the evidence.
Non-terrestrial officers, in
The
quotes.
whole purpose to the cover-up is to prevent we, the plebeian masses of this planet, from gaining the appreciation that there is indeed extraterrestrial life out there, intelligent extraterrestrial life. And this is life that the government is very well aware of. The governments around the world, it's certainly not a U.S. issue. They're very well aware of it.
Because you've been lied to, you've been robbed of something that you deserve, which is to know what your true history is and what your true significance is in this world.
I really don't think people realize how deep the lie goes,
No.
how big it is.
Oh, it's huge. It's so huge. It will change the world as we know it. For the better. I really believe that.
It is the most amazing secret never told. It is the most monumental cover-up in human history. And hopefully, the public will take a movie like this and will begin to open up some doors, begin to open up some windows to the truth, whether it's from the government, whether it's from other insiders who can now come forward and begin to tell their stories of what they did and their involvement in this cover-up to get the truth out there. I think the world's ready for it. And hopefully a movie like
Tired of being treated like children?
push that forward a little bit,
Yeah.
speed the process up.
The very
You're
word
full-grown.
secrecy is repugnant.
You're full-grown adults. You, the mind and a brain, you can think for
We are, as a
yourself.
people,
Right?
inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
This was John F. Kennedy speaking back in the 1960s.
That the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment
Concealment,
of pertinent facts
secrecy,
far outweigh the dangers
far outweigh the dangers
justify it.
that are cited to
And there
justify
is very
it.
grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by
Sound
those
familiar?
to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
Sound
That I do not
familiar?
intend to permit to the extent that it's
Look
in
what's
my
happening
control.
now with the Patriot Act.
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military,
Eisenhower
should
warned us
interpret
about
my
it
words here
too.
tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Yeah. So,
Playing around with these images using modern software techniques,
Photoshop.
some of the results really are eye-opening. And again, it really comes back
So
to...
that's been smudged out. That tower or structure, whatever it is,
Or any of the other space
been
agencies, or any of the major
been blurred by
Why will they not show you
NASA.
any of the new
Purpose.
adaptive optics imagery of the moon? They simply won't show it to you. They
No.
don't have any, they claim.
They've been lying to you.
A report was prepared under contract to NASA by the Brookings Institute, Washington, D.C. The report outlines the need to investigate the possible social consequences of an extraterrestrial discovery and to consider whether such a discovery should be kept from the public in order to avoid political change and a possible
just the
devastating
fact that
effect
you're here
on
today
themselves through the
says
discovery
enormous
of
amounts
cherished theories
about
could be at risk.
where we are is in the disclosure process.
And it says in there,
they cannot
seriously
keep this from us any longer.
Because it may in fact lead to
it's out of the bag. Pandora's box has been opened.
Culture because of the tremendous cultural impact, the shock that it would have, especially to scientists and engineers who come to believe arrogantly, I think, that we are the top of the heap, that we are some part of some natural process and we are the dominant species. I don't think that argument flies. I think that document is nothing more than their political and legal cover for what they've been doing. Because there is a much bigger issue that comes out here. What most people don't know is that, NASA is not a civilian science agency. If you look at the actual charter under which NASA was originally put into existence, it states clearly there that NASA is an adjunct, a division of the Department of Defense, and it is beholden to the Department of Defense.
When you couple the Brookings Institute report with a document called Executive Order 10501, 10501 was a document.
So is it in the defense of the United States or is it in defense of those who are keeping the secret from you?
And it's important to note that the term national defense actually includes not only considerations of a military perspective, but also geoeconomic and geopolitical as well. And when you compare or take those two documents, when you take 10501 and the Brookings Institute report, right there, that lays the framework for the greatest story ever denied. That gives them
greatest story ever denied. So now we're getting into the equipment that was used to stage the moon landing. That was a nice bit of theater. They still use these things, like with ISIS beheadings and stuff. That's all done in a studio. So they're making craters. It's a stage. It's probably somewhere out in the Nevada desert or something. So those photographs were leaked, obviously.
Control Houston, switching now to the voice of Jim Lovell. 560.5, good to hear your voice. Apollo 8 Houston, what does the old moon look like from 60 miles, over? Okay, Houston, the moon is essentially gray, no color.
Lie.
It has been speculated the moon missions were hoaxed. Perhaps some of the Apollo missions were filmed in different locations and in studios in order to conceal the incredible discoveries found on the moon. In 1979, Marie Chatelain, former chief of NASA Communications Systems, confirmed Neil Armstrong had indeed reported seeing two UFOs on the rim of a crater. The encounter was common knowledge at NASA, he revealed, but nobody has talked about it until now.
On the list of the links I gave you, you can find the citizens' hearing on disclosure.
The lies that are being
that was in 2013.
To hide what's up there.
I suggest you watch all the testimony.
What's going on over our planet's atmosphere or not. You are affected by the lies that are in place to maintain this greatest of all cover-ups. And we're talking about...
So is all the lying to keep you from questioning? Is all the lying to keep you from knowing?
Space were destroyed by the extra-terrestrials. Our government...
They're telling us that we can't handle it.
It was tended
You wouldn't be able to handle it.
Assess some scientific data.
But I think you
and so
can.
forth.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun.
Yes, Russia, China, France, Australia has its own space program. I'm going to go into.
But he assured me that he would live a few more years.
Not the same space program. Remember that countries have their own interests.
The effort to weaponize space.
The idea of
and we're not united at all.
In space by any Earth government.
Yeah, it's like, yes, and all the real information is all on a need-to-know basis. It's all been compartmentalized.
Was that first the Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in 74, they were the enemy.
They wanted a weapon system they could put in space that would stop a ballistic.
As well as an ancient aliens presence.
Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorists.
Civilization as well as humans now.
Well, it has been conjectured by some that when the Apollo astronauts did go up there, they saw something they weren't supposed to see, and they were chased off. Because there allegedly is an alien presence on the moon. As far as which aliens, I don't know. Some have claimed reptilians, and that the moon is being used as a base for controlling what goes on the surface and controlling the human population. So it's like a base for doing that. And which I could, that's...
If there was going to be a base there, that'd be a good place to put it.
That would be a good place to put it because you can conceal it. The last card is the alien threat. Carol Rosin has repeated this several times in several videos.
Out in space.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As a line of defense.
They dropped a bomb on the moon and it rang like a bell for 3 hours.
Most people have come to the very clear realization, I think, that things aren't quite as you've been told. And the question then just becomes is how big...
You're not stupid.
And the truth is, it's bigger than most people can imagine. One of the great things about the NASA archive system is that at the back of many of their documents, they have both distribution and reference lists. And the distribution lists are very important. They say who that document is being forwarded to and which department.
It's all compartmentalized information.
Through these documents.
These people at NASA could be sitting next to somebody that has no idea what they're up to, and that person has no idea what they're up to. So it's like mutually exclusive information that they're not allowed to share on pain of death. Really.
The individual I managed to identify and who agreed to meet with...
That was back a long time ago. Now that we have the internet and the information is out there and it's too late.
Although many people haven't heard of it, is in many ways a company that is more responsible for landing man on the moon than NASA was. Bellcom's a division of AT&T and Western Electric. Bellcom was around.
And a lot of these
decade, they were there
privatized
for the specific purpose of man on the moon and ensuring that NASA
black budget
meeting him was actually the most important
military-industrial entities
a man who I knew
came out of Nazi Germany and Hitler's playbook, and then the Nazis came over here, started working for NASA, started working for University of Chicago, people at the NSA and the CIA as their first employees. They were Nazis. Sorry, read Operation Paperclip.
Talk with anyone about it. With the people that were in a position to be in the know, to have at least some high level of understanding of what was really going on.
So I'm giving you a lot.
These individuals are also very well aware of what their government is actually capable of.
In one workshop,
but learned some photographs and not to look at them. And there was a guard, another guard guarding him, who was in.
She worked for NASA.
Watching him burn photographs, and he said he was too tempted. He looked at one, and it was a picture of a UFO, and he was very descriptive. I can go into that later with anyone. He immediately was hit in the head, and he had a big gash in his forehead. He was knocked out, and he's terrified. So he would have to be protected. Another incident, I knew someone in quarantine with the Apollo astronauts. He told me that the Apollo astronauts saw craft on the moon when we landed. And that is what he told me. And he also was afraid, he said that the astronauts are...
Oops, sorry. It's kind of touchy. I have to move ahead because we're limited on time. So I want to take you on, because somebody had mentioned about the secret space programs, and do other countries have them themselves? And I want to tell you that yes, they have all kinds of secret space programs, and most of them are using this vector symbol.
It certainly is not.
So there's a pyramid on the dark side of the moon. There you go.
Harrison Schmitt, created some patches for his own mission, Apollo 17, which is again the mission that we take these images from.
You'll see the vector symbol repeated throughout these various international space programs.
The sun.
So what's going on? At what level are they cooperating, and how many of them are on the moon? That's my question.
The Apollo program, which is supposed to be Greek, but it ends up that there's really sort of a dual meaning to all this stuff. It's an Egyptian. And what he's clearly saying to people is, look, these are ruins. They're a structure. This is what we're really doing on the moon. And I think what they're doing is they're trying in a subtle way to let people know, either because they remember it subconsciously or because
they've been told, many of these employees have been told they can't talk about this. So they don't, but they leave clues for us to find. And so it is our own curiosity that's going to save us as the human race, as the planet. It'll be our own determination.
Any NASA imagery, whether it's Apollo imagery or imagery of Mars, it doesn't really matter. Perspective is everything.
Everything.
We human beings down here on terra firma are afforded one perspective of the moon. We look at it, and that's what we have to look at. We don't know what the moon looks like from the side or from different angles.
Although there are many
It's this singular representation that we have to look at.
amateur astronomers
has in fact gone to great lengths to ensure that the imagery
who have been examining these photographs, filming the moon, finding all kinds of things.
Function as well as in angling and the dimensional properties of the image make it appear as if it would look just like it does from Earth. One of the primary obfuscation techniques that NASA uses is to simply rotate the imagery. They insert a false horizon in their oblique imagery, so by turning these images upside down, it alters vertical objects, suddenly don't cast shadows anymore.
Isn't that special? Okay, I have to get onto the vector portion. So, because I want to show you these different vectors. Oh, he's going into the tethers. He gets a little bit into that. Space tethers. Okay, here we are at the vectors. So there's the NASA
object.
Symbol.
They call that the chevron or the vector.
The chevron.
NASA's Public Affairs Office, this symbology is featured so heavily in their insignia and seal. They'll give you what really amounts to the standard facile cover story for the unilluminated. They'll tell you that is a representation of a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s.
Blah, blah, blah.
The time the logo was created. Not exactly the case. Someone might want to ask the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, that was formed in 1992, why they chose that same logo.
So what haven't we been told?
The Chinese, who formed their space agency in 1996, why in the world they're using a hypersonic wing design from the 1950s as their official logo. Then you can ask the Japanese, the South Koreans.
So was in the 1950s, that's when all these countries were made privy to this information?
All of these countries.
I think so.
Bulgaria.
55,
they all utilize the vector symbology in their space agency logos for their national space agencies. it gets even deeper. You can go look at the individual manned program patches for NASA. The Mercury program, for example, a blatant use of covert symbology. In every logo dealing with the Mercury program, you'll see what looks like a number 7 in their logo. And
a lot of this stuff is hidden in plain sight.
Number 7 there so that they could pay homage to the original 7 Mercury astronauts. Kind of forgetting the fact that only 6 Mercury astronauts actually flew into space because number 7 never did. Deke Slayton had a heart problem, so he didn't get to go up. So there were only 6 Mercury astronauts. Yet there's a 7 in every single logo. That's in the official mission or official program insignia for Mercury, as well as the 6 individual mission patches carry this logo. And it carries on to the Space Shuttle program. If you look at the Apollo logo has a big letter A in it. At least that's what they want you to believe, but it's not. Again, that's just a simple way of explaining away the inclusion of this vector symbology in the logo. If you go to the Space Shuttle program,
there it is again. There it is again.
Program patch.
There it is
a triangular patch that, again, hides the use of the chevronic vector symbology. And that also goes for many of the STS-specific mission patches. Every single one of the International Space Station expedition patches carry the vector symbology. The Russian Mir Space Station used the vector symbology. That was their official logo. You can even go deeper and look at military-industrial complex companies. Look at the logo on a company like Lockheed Martin, 2 vectors. The X-Prize logo, Ames Research Labs.
Oh my God.
US Space Command, when you get into the military realm, the United States Space Command, their official logo is the vector symbol. And when you look at the military's individual space-specific programs, all of them deal with vector symbology in their official insignias. And the question...
So what's that? I'd like to know.
And the truth, quite frankly, is undisputed.
Or a reptilian wearing a hood, right? So there it is, yeah. So that wishbone, that's an ancient sighting. And he shows it in some Renaissance art that he's going to get into. So what the heck is that? I would like to know. So they've doctored the photograph to black out what's behind it. Yeah, they took out the horizon.
This painting, entitled The Madonna with Saint Giovannino.
You might recognize that painting.
The artist's name is not known, but at first glance you can notice a UFO shape in the sky to the right side of the Madonna. If you were to see the original full-size painting, you would see the object clearly. Looking at the enlargement, you can see a man...
Some say we've been visited for 300,000 years. However, so this is not new stuff.
On the left
they just started coming after we blew off the first atomic weapon, because then we were interfering with their dimension.
Perhaps this artist was trying.
So they've been coming a lot since then.
In another painting of the Madonna, made by a completely different artist, the unusual patterns of the sun and the vector-like symbols have also been added prominently on the Madonna's quote. You can see the same symbology on this painting as on the one before. This time, however, there is no UFO object to be seen anywhere.
There's a book that was written a long time ago called Jesus Was an Arcturian.
Mexico City in
Interesting.
2002. There were many other videos and photographs taken of this same type of object, clearly resembling the shapes as seen on the visor of the astronaut, on the moon, and depicted in the 14th century paintings of the Madonna and Child. There is probably a larger story behind the vectors, but it is very unusual this symbology has been adapted by all the United States and foreign space agencies, especially enemies like Iran and others who are also making missions to the moon.
See, all these countries, they must know something, otherwise they wouldn't be starting up their own secret space program. There is a space race going on.
Houston, what does the old moon look like from 60 miles, over?
You know, I just say we're already fighting wars down on the surface. Why the heck do we need to be fighting wars in space? Just saying. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, resources.
Exactly 2 weeks before I finished.
All wars are for resources. Let's not kid ourselves. Not for democracy.
I found out that there's a website.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wait till you see Aristarchus. Okay, let's find Aristarchus.
And
here we go.
They have it on grayscale. They have it on Farms color, which is infrared and ultraviolet views of the moon. But they also have the spectral color, which is full natural color of the moon. And when I found this out, I just totally freaked out. I mean, first of all,
this is when he really took off with this film. When he discovered that map on the USGS website.
Of the moon. My partner Saskia, she goes, Jose, are you sure you haven't been on the moon? Because it was so close, which is amazing.
It's so unbelievably beautiful. All these natural
It's kind of hard to hear.
It's never been shown to us. I've seen on TV the moon is gray and black, and it has no color. Well, that couldn't be farther from the truth.
See those little discs that look remarkably the same?
I just want to see more, and it blew me away.
That's not part of the moon's surface.
The Clementine mission, it took 1.8 million images of the moon. The high resolution ones, you can't see.
You can go on the website and find these photographs yourself and colorize them yourself. Thank you for coming.
Let's come right back.
Oh, okay.
They have far more color than they should if our models are correct. Now, there's two ways you
I wish that we didn't have these lights because, okay, this is one of the domed craters covered with glass. They're biospheres.
There is still stuff growing there. You know, you would obviously have plants and vegetation.
There are these glass domed craters all over the moon.
Living in an environment.
Artificial environment.
Yeah, it's a biosphere.
Another distinct possibility, and this is the one that I tend to advocate. Really
At least that's what I claim. Okay.
Glass structures.
Until we know for certain, all we can do is ask a question.
And bounce all over the place. And when it does that, you get a prism effect, and it then will combine with other red or green.
That's unmistakably a prism effect.
Significance about the natural color of the moon. You need to know where these images come from. This is what is called the skin of the moon.
That's the skin of the moon.
That has been stretched and flattened out. When visual artists wrap this skin around a sphere in their 3D programs, this is what you get. Jose Esconilla downloaded hundreds of sections of the entire skin that is available on the USGS website.
You can go there yourself,
is in this
download them
here, located on the front side of the moon. When Jose zoomed into this particular section, he recognized some very unusual features and objects in the scene. First of all, the terrain below is clearly presenting itself at an angular view. The disc shape located here appears to be hovering above the surface. When you compare this disc with others that are closer to the terrain, you can clearly see this object is not down on the terrain. Jose found out very
see they're hovering above the terrain, illuminating the terrain.
See in other photos we are going to present.
So what the heck are those?
They are hovering on their sides, and sometimes they are hovering as these others below. The other discs
Who are they?
are different in color and details, but they are shining right.
Are they the ones building the
They
biospheres?
do whatever they are doing close to the terrain. In all the photos Jose presents in this film, you are seeing the only clear and detailed photography ever.
The size must be fantastic because we're seeing it. I mean, this is like from 75 miles away, you know.
Connected to the space program.
That's supposed to be the size, 7 times the size of Los Angeles, that smeared out.
We had this whole segment on the STS.
And there's a tether on the shuttle. Right, and the thing bumped into it. You could see it move.
Surface, there's thousands of them. and they're hovering above the moon's surface.
I know.
Full color imagery that you're looking
They must
at.
really think we're idiots.
Colors of the moon.
You know?
It brings us to a total new reality.
But obviously you're not, because you're here today.
Teeming of life back in 94 when these photos were taken, or it may still be teeming.
Sorry. Do you want some of my links here? Ugh. So at this point in the film, we're getting into some really incredible imagery. Some of these photographs have been 3D rendered, and you can see that these disk objects are not on the surface. They are hovering above the surface.
They're not touching it at all.
Right. According to certain people
Truth is,
in our military, high up military,
or Mars.
one of them said, we have the technology today to take ET home, which means that we've back engineered this stuff, and we've already been to the moon. We have not been told about the 0-point anti-gravity vehicles that the secret military has developed. And it's created a breakaway civilization, allegedly, on the moon and Mars, and on several other celestial bodies in our solar
See them
system.
for yourself.
Who knows how far this goes?
The size of these complex,
Who knows?
in most cases, alien-like architecture, as you have seen in many films. You will even see some strange vine-like webbing, as depicted in Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. Glass domes, UFOs, massive buildings and scaffolding spread throughout the lunar terrain in many sizes, shapes, and forms. It is evident the missions to the moon were more involved than gathering rocks and dirt samples. There is no doubt we went to the moon. It is what was waiting for us when we got there that this film is about.
Okay. So we're getting into some, I don't have time to show you all of the films, so I'm going to take you to right here.
Do, as they say, back engineer everything I present. It's all there for you to see.
What we do know is that there's more information out there. Again, there's 1.8 million Clementine images sitting on the web. No one person can access even a handful.
And the beauty is that we have the internet and you can find these images yourself.
So what we need is for people that see these films and see documentaries like this is to understand that this stuff does exist. They can't hide it all.
When I was talking with the gentleman from Belcom, and we were discussing
Thank you.
the lie.
Now check out those websites. You'll learn so much more.
Was the truth. And at one point I asked him, I said, man, you guys, you lied about a lot, didn't you? And instantly he said, no, we didn't lie about certain things, we lied about everything. None of it was
called
true.
XNA, and it's a creation of a future human that can live on other planets. And for a couple of years I've been saying to myself, why would anybody do that? You know, I'm starting to see now why that might be.
It's my understanding that human beings used to have 12-stranded DNA, and we've been dumbed down to 2-stranded to keep us enslaved. And if people are worried about the negative alien races coming here to attack us, that's a false narrative. They've already been here. You know, and if the ETs that we are seeing now in our skies really wanted to hurt us, we'd be dead by now. You know? That's just logic. We've already been invaded. It's not in the future. It's already happening now. And the beauty of this whole thing is you are finding out about this now despite all the secrecy. Despite all the secrecy, there are people like Jose Esconilla making this film who have curiosity. They have a questioning mind. They want to know what is really happening. Because I have this feeling I'm not being told the truth, and you would be right. Okay? These people are profiting, these private contractors are profiting off of back-engineered technology, like the integrated circuit, fiber optics, Kevlar. These things didn't just happen. They've been back-engineered. That's Aristarchus in black and white. Wait till Jose shows you Aristarchus in full color. This is in daylight, right? You can see the water in there, okay? This is at night, what he's going to show you next. The lights are on, people. There is life under that.
That's like just at night?
It's at night. Could it be more obvious? I mean, there is so much we don't know about the moon. Well, he said earlier in the film that they did explode a bomb on the surface of the moon and it rang like a bell for 3 hours. Okay, so, or did he say 3 days, 3 hours, 3 days, something like that. But a bell is hollow. You'll see a lot of these craters that used to be covered in glass, but were destroyed. But you can see the edges being rebuilt. It's like they were destroyed and some technology is rebuilding them. You'll see it over and over again. There is an alleged whistleblower by the name of Corey Good, E.T., Corey Good. He's claiming that we are on the moon. He is a secret space program whistleblower, allegedly. You can find him spherebeingalliance.com. Spherebeingalliance.com. Yeah, he was you can find his you can find him on Gaiam TV and on divinecosmos.com. So divinecosmos.com might be of interest to you as well. I didn't put it on the list. See, there's one that's being repaired. See that? See how they're building it out from the edges and back toward the center? So who are they, you know? I want to know who they are.
Are they still there? Like,
oh yeah. As far as, I mean, one could assume, but this was taken in 1994, which is just, what, 20 years ago? There's one person, Crow777, he's on your list as a YouTube channel. He's been filming the lunar wave anomaly, which it has been conjectured is a holographic projection of the Earth-facing side of the moon. and it's meant to conceal what's going on. Allegedly. I'm sorry?
Do you see these same things on Mars?
Yeah. They're all over the place. They're flying all around. I mean, even in NASA footage, you'll see these same discs. And, you know, a lot of people might assume that these discs are extra-terrestrial. They might not be. They might be ours. They could be ours, but I can't claim that they are or they aren't because nobody knows, you know, but there it is. From what I understand, from a few different sources, our military has been playing around with timelines, jumping around in time. Screwing things up. Yeah. Oh wow, sorry. Boy, it really got loud, didn't
We
it?
shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We avow that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. Yet the
Isn't any wonder why they killed him?
can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, folks.